Welcome back to Cord Cutting Today, where we break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting, including today, the death of MTV as we know it. Yes, MTV finally being laid to rest as Paramount kind of makes major cuts and major changes to its cable networks. It looks like MTV's future is very much in doubt. Sinclair is expanding its OTA presence for some of its network, bringing its over-the-air television network to more markets. We'll tell you which ones and what network. And 70 years ago this week, color TVs as we know it became a reality. We'll tell you a little bit about the history of color television in the United States and why this week marks an important milestone for TV as we know it today. With that said, before we dive into all the stories, if you want to learn more about any of these stories, you can find a link to them in the show notes and in the first pinned comment. If you like what we do here, please consider hitting that subscribe button and hitting that thumbs up. Doing one or both lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here, so they recommend our videos to other people. It will really help us. Hopefully we can help you break free from the high cost of television. All right, let's dive into it. Paramount yesterday announced The Big Bang Theory and Friends are coming to MTV and Nick at Night. This is a pretty interesting change. And honestly, I think this is partially a cost-cutting measure. They own the rights to some of this stuff, so they don't have to pay for reruns of older stuff. For me, it's very weird to think that Nick at Night would be airing Big Bang Theory. I grew up thinking Nick at Night was always the really old stuff, right? Black and white, 1960s, 70s, and 50s content. Okay, it wasn't all black and white, but it felt like it at times. Nowadays, though, increasingly, content just feels like it was just on TV, but is actually getting kind of old now. Will start airing on these networks. For MTV in particular, this is a massive shift for their strategy. While not completely unknown to air non-MTV original related content, MTV has been still heavily focused on the teenage and early 20s, mid-20s market. That's been kind of their sweet spot in creating content like teen pregnancies, Maid, and other MTV programs, all designed around that kind of age. Now MTV is significantly shifting as, let's be honest, viewership on traditional linear television networks is aging. Now to content that's probably more into the 30s and 40s even than the traditional core audience. Also, this means for massive chunks of MTV's airing, it won't be MTV original content. They're going to be doing big marathons of The Big Bang Theory and airing blocks of Friends. I think this has a lot to do with cost cutting. I think Paramount's looking around and saying, well, we own this content, it's popular, maybe that'll help bring in new viewers to MTV. That's a very bad sign there for MTV, as we've heard reports that they're cutting back on some original production content. And it probably means that they're looking at the cost of MTV and the audience and wondering if the audience is still there. MTV in the early days had a very heavy 20s market. And in recent years, I mean the last 20 years or so, with the success of some of their shows, that age kind of fell into the teens. And interestingly, as MTV dropped, a lot of teenagers started watching that. Disney Channel audience, who was at one point heavily teenagers, started to fall into the preteen market and younger. So there's some connection there a little bit between the two networks. But now we're seeing them, much like Cartoon Network, say, well, how, older people are watching us, how can we maybe attract more older viewers? We see it with Cartoon Network launching Adult Swim as early as 5 p.m. on some days, and using classic cartoon content from the 90s and 2000s to air there for Cartoon Network to try to drive up viewership. Now MTV's turning to hit shows like Friends and The Big Bang Theory that don't necessarily get seen as MTV content to try to do the same. Definitely is a massive departure from the recent strategy of MTV, and honestly kind of feels like an abandonment of MTV as we know it and its market. We'll see if this pays off for them. If it does, look for MTV to turn into more of a rerun network of classic shows. Then probably, let's be honest, the stuff that you and I don't care about, but used to be, probably still has a very large following in the teens and early 20 demographic. All right, next up, Sinclair, owner of TBD TV, has struck a deal with Fox Broadcasting to expand the reach of TBD TV into more major markets. This is a new, or not so new, it feels like it's new, over-the-air TV station that will now expand in several new markets, including Atlanta, Chicago, Phoenix, Los Angeles, and New York. It's known now for its comedy and big star shows. TBD used to be kind of a very different format. They've more transformed into a comedy network in recent years. Be interesting to see how this continues, but if you live over the air in one of those markets, you may need to rescan. Check out their story for more details on that. All right, next up, FTC is cracking down on junk fees. Not yet on cable, but hopefully soon. FTC has announced a final rule that would ban ticketing and lodging industries from having junk fees to help hide the true cost of their products. You probably see this, right? Resort fees, processing fees, all these other things. Cable TV is probably the next, I think, biggest user of these fees. You see these advertised price, $74.99 for 200 channels or whatever it may be. But don't forget the HD technology fee, the device rentals, this fee and that fee, and regional sports fee, broadcast TV fee. It feels sometimes like there's a new fee all the time. Many are hopeful that FTC continues this push, not just with lodging and ticket, but we'll also see these fees be eliminated on cable television and streaming services. While still pretty new on streaming, it's not completely unheard of there. So leave me a comment, let me know, do you think that they should be getting rid of those or not? I'd love to hear from you. All right, the Roku channel in our next story added 11 new channels, including an Ed Sullivan Show 24/7. Any Ed Sullivan Show fans? Anybody remember watching that when you were younger? There's 11 new channels now live on the Roku channel. Link in the show notes down below if you want to check those out. We've been talking about price hikes recently. Our next story up, 10 major streaming services have recently raised their price. So you're not wrong to feel like there's been a lot of price hikes recently, but at the same time, almost every major cable provider in the United States has also raised the price, with several of them raising them twice within a 24-month or 12-month period, in recent years. These services that recently raised the price sometime in 2024 include Sling TV, Fubo, YouTube TV, Max, Philo, Peacock, Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, Hulu, and AMC Plus, to name a few. There are others, including ESPN Plus, that raised the price. Average price hike seems to be $1 to $2 a month, with some live TV services going up more, Fubo $5, Sling TV $5, and YouTube TV $10. But the vast majority of these seem to be $1 to $2 a month price hikes. If you want to learn more about that, get the full list of all of them down there. Leave me a comment or check it out in the comments with that. AMC is announcing with that a new price hike. Yesterday, AMC quietly announced that its ad-free version is going up $1 a month with that all. So are cord cutters really saving money? Well, something I've been telling you for a while seems to be coming true. According to a new study here, increasingly cord cutters, we talked about this yesterday, are saving money because they're cutting back on the number of services they're actually paying for. I want to know from you, have you cut back the number of streaming services you pay for in 2024? Leave me a comment, let me know. We also got what's new on Hulu. There's a link to it in the show notes if you want to find everything new this week on Hulu. Also at cordcuttersnews.com, we have everything new on Max. And lastly, this week marks an important date. Actually, yesterday from when I posted this, today when I'm recording this, color television became a reality in the United States with the standard we use now. Well, not necessarily the standard, but the starting point of it as we use it now, starting off. On this date, RCA received approval from the FCC 70 years ago this week to start producing color televisions. Now, a few years before that, CBS had created a system for delivering over-the-air color television and aired a few programs. The problem with CBS's system is it wasn't backwards compatible. If you had a black and white TV, and a color show came on, it was a blank screen to you. You couldn't see anything. Your TV wouldn't be able to display the image on the screen. RCA's system was backwards compatible, and because of that, it became widely adopted and launched television as we are today. Many had abandoned the very large, expensive CBS systems for these cheaper, smaller RCA color TVs. Well, it was another year before they really got mass-produced, and it took quite a few years before they became wildly popular and most programs started airing in color in the 60s and 70s. Color television, as we know it today, became a reality thanks to RCA, a brand most of us don't even think about anymore, let's be honest. But RCA televisions paved the way for color as we know it today by creating a standard that would not only work on color televisions, but would still give you an image on an old black and white TV. Anybody here own a black and white TV from when you were younger? We used to have a small little portable black and white TV when I was a kid. A little gray box with a small, and I mean small, like this big screen kind of deal. Leave me a comment, let me know if you had something like that growing up. Well, that's it for today. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll talk to you all again tomorrow. Take care, be safe. Have a great day, everybody.